Hi, I'm Stephanie Kuehnert, and I want to thank Boulder Books for inviting me to speak with you all today from my home office in Seattle, Washington. Um, they sent me some great interview questions, and I'm gonna talk through them. I'm here to talk about my book, Pieces of a Girl, which just came out. It's a zine-style YA memoir. It's about the things I grappled with in my teen years: depression, emotional and sexual abuse in a relationship, substance abuse, and how I survived through creativity, storytelling, and finding community. What inspired me to write this book? I wanted to be a writer for as long as I can remember. The book actually opens with an image from my diary when I was 7 years old. It says, uh, it says, if I could write a book when I grow up, this is what it would be about: me and my life. I'd always wanted to do that, but for years I felt like I didn't have anything to tell. Then I went through some things, but since those things involved abuse, I felt so much self-doubt. I didn't believe that my voice mattered. Riot Girl and making zines helped me with that a lot, but I still wondered if I could do it. And for years, I just focused on writing fiction. But back in 2011, I started writing for Rookie Magazine, which was an online magazine for teenage girls that was created by Tavi Gevinson. I was writing essays, writing about my life for the first time since I was a teenager. And what I wrote impacted readers and it helped me heal. I was also collaborating with illustrators at Rookie and working in different forms like I did with my zines. That's when the idea for this memoir really took shape. So, why did I decide to tell my story through so many different styles? So, I've structured this book in sections that feel like mini zines. I made covers for them. I'll show you here. And then there are actual pages torn from my diary, like this one, which is my entry from the day that Kurt Cobain died. There's also zine pages from my own teenage zines. And the most pivotal moments are illustrated by Susie Exposito, who is an artist that I met when I was working at Rookie. I told the story in this way because honestly, it's the best way to reflect my life and my creative process. It was the only way I knew how. Zine making was such an important part of my youth and the writer that I've become. So how was it different to write a memoir as opposed to a novel? Well, with novel writing, you have to come up with the plot. And I already had mine. It was my life. But a life doesn't follow an arc like a story does. And fortunately, my life is still not over. So I had to decide where it should end as well. And mainly, I had to think about structure. I couldn't include everything. My editor, Andrew Carr, gave me the great advice to write it like a mixtape as opposed to a greatest hits album. And that really resonated for me and helped me write it. What's one thing you think a young person who's going through addiction or abuse should know? I'm actually going to tell you three things. First, you are not alone. Second, abuse and addiction thrive in silence, and talking about them is key. Your voice matters. Third, healing isn't linear, it's messy, and you don't have to feel weak or ashamed as you're fighting your way through something. Now, what are some books that I've read recently that I loved? Well, currently I'm in the middle of two books that I'm really loving. So one is Reagan Jackson's Still True, which is a powerful essay collection that speaks to social justice and community here in Seattle and globally. And then I'm really also loving Susan Liu's memoir. She's a Vietnamese American writer, and The Manicurist's Daughter is about the loss of her mother when Susan was a child to botched plastic surgery. It's raw and honest, but threaded through with humor, which is true about Reagan's book too. which is probably why I love them. So, those are the books that I'm loving right now. And now I'm going to read you just a little piece from my book. And it's going to be a part that has an illustration so you can see how that works. So the section is called Scoville Park. After I got a B in biology freshman year, the only B I had gotten or would get in anything aside from gym class, I decided to drop out of the honor science track and take regular chemistry sophomore year. My dad argued with me about this. I wouldn't be challenging myself or living up to my potential, blah, blah, blah. I cried in genuine fear of another B and ranted in genuine self-hatred about how stupid I felt. The B had proved to me that I was good at English, not science and math. Though my tears were real, I was also strategically playing the do not put pressure on your fragile daughter card. Fortunately, I won, because if I hadn't moved down to regular chemistry class, I never would have met Mel, who'd recently moved to Oak Park. Mel, who finally asked me the question that it felt like I had been waiting my whole life for. Here's the comment. You want to ditch class and go to Scoville? Hell yes. Oh, sure. Mel nodded and exhaled. We'd stuck a pencil in one of the school's side doors so we could grab a smoke during the break between lecture and lab. I was going to go with Jeff. She meant that Jeff. Penis Jeff, as Robin and I called him. Mel and Jeff had gym together, and when she described him, I knew exactly who she was talking about, even though his hair was orange now instead of green. Jeff has early dismissal, she continued, so I was going to ditch ninth period. What do you have ninth period, Stephanie Kuehnert? She grinned at me. For some reason, she loved saying my full name. Maybe because when I taught her how to pronounce it, Kuehnert, she'd gotten it right immediately, and I told her that was rare. I have Spanish. Spanish. Mel took a long drag off her cigarette as if mulling it over. Well, Stephanie Kuehnert, you want to ditch Spanish, get stoned with me and Jeff, and go to Scoville Park instead? It meant I'd get detention, but my answer was an automatic yes. Scoville Park sat almost literally in the middle of town. It was 3 blocks from my high school, but in the opposite direction of the way that my friend Robin and I walked home. I thought it was the center of the universe. If there was a big bang that would set my real teenage life in motion, it would happen there. The stories I'd heard, that's where you go to buy and do drugs. If you hang out there, your name goes on a list. Your name goes on the school's regular locker search list. And the people I associated with Scoville, Baby Kurt, Penis Jeff, had me convinced that it was mythical. I had long dreamed of walking up Lake Street, past the football field, the gas station where you could buy cigarettes if the right person was working, the bread store that gave out free slices of bread after school, perfect if you were high or starving, and we were usually both, and across Oak Park Avenue to the park entrance, where there was always a weird combination of old people waiting for the bus and sketchy kids waiting for their dealers to call back on the payphone. Inside, it was a sea of flannel and band shirts and dyed hair and wallet chains. But there were nuances that distinguished each group. The skaters wore their jeans extra baggy and hung out by the statue at the top of the hill practicing ollies and kickflips. The hippies wore a lot of color, kept their long hair down, and played hacky sack in the sun. The metalheads wore a lot of black, kept their long hair up in ponytails, and hung out on a brown painted wooden sculpture, aptly dubbed the Brown Thing. And these were just the obvious differences, the ones you could see walking in. Once you started hanging out there, you saw the subtler divisions, the larger groups that appeared to be sitting together, but were really in 2 different circles. They might party together or smoke pot in someone's garage or co-host a show in someone's basement, but at the core, they were separate groups. Some of this was based on which junior high people had gone to or what extracurriculars they did, stage crew or theater or band or sci-fi club. because that was how friends met and bonded. But a lot of this was also based on music. The industrial kids who listened to Nine Inch Nails and My Life with the Thrill Kill Cult were friendly, but not actually part of the same group as the indie rockers who listened to Sonic Youth and Pavement, and who sometimes played the same shows as the artsy kids who were not quite hippies, but maybe sort of beatniks and into jazz. This, I think, is part of what made Scoville Park so overwhelming to me. I was a shapeshifter. I was still in my cocoon, trying on identities. What color would I be when I emerged? Did I decide that? Did I have to choose? Hippies and punks were supposed to hate each other, but there were things I admired about both subcultures. What if I liked Pantera and Nirvana, Nine Inch Nails and Sonic Youth? Because I did. At my core, I liked all of it. But more urgent than anything was the need to belong somewhere at the park. Here's another illustration of the park itself. And I'll stop it there. I hope you enjoyed hearing about Pieces of a Girl and that you'll pick it up, maybe at Boulder Books if you're local. And again, thanks to Boulder Books for having me. Have a good day.